Hey everyone, today's episode is brought to you by Hot Wheels, which you might remember Billy joked about the live show last year. Yes, he reckoned they were in talks to create a Billy and Nick dream house. Sadly, that actually hasn't happened yet.
Not yet.
Yep, but something just as cool is a chance to partner with a brand that is all about helping kids build confidence and resilience. Hot Wheels is all about giving kids the confidence to take on challenges like launching a car through a loop, crashing into the couch, rebuilding the track and giving it another go. Hot Wheels is not just fun, it's about learning through action. Try, fail, repeat, grow. That's what play should be all around, right, Billy? And that's why we're really proud to have them support the pod.
All right, I've got it. Maybe instead of a dream house, it's time for the Nick and Billy Ultimate Garage.
Mate, I'm thinking of something even better. Maybe our own PCP Hot Wheels set.
Yes, in our theme colours. And just like this sponsorship, all of those funds will go towards Guiding Growing Minds, supporting kids in the community.
Brilliant, Billy. Hey, let's make it happen. All right, go grab your Hot Wheels cars, clear some space on the floor and settle in. This episode is going to be a good one. Wow, Dr. Billy Garvey, that was a very deep episode that we have just wrapped up here on Hope. It's our reflection episode with lots of big, long, complex questions and some really incredible advice that was, tough, but really appreciated from people. What are people going to learn this week?
We start on some rapid fire shorts, which hopefully give some good developmentally appropriate through the age spectrum, like elements of hope, comparing it to resilience and optimism and things like that. And then we explore these beautiful long questions that people send in from school, have a special guest answer that was sent in. And then, the last question, the 5 longs, is a really important one for people to hear, as well as the final closing reflection.
Yeah, incredibly fantastic. Bill, I do just want to put at the top here, though, some people may have noticed that they think we've finished podcasting altogether, but it's not actually a thing. It's an Apple podcast thing. We're just want to tell everyone that we haven't finished. And if you hear of anyone saying, they've finished, they haven't done an episode since 117, it's not correct. We are on there. You just have to resubscribe or look for Pop Culture Parenting.
Yeah, there were multiple versions. There's only one now, so go and find it if you've lost it.
Oh, there is only one, Nick and Billy. Fantastic, guys. I hope you enjoy the episode.
Hi, I'm Billy, a developmental paediatrician.
And I'm Nick, a developing parent.
We're going to use scenes from iconic movies to talk about how we best support our kids.
This is Pop Culture Parenting.
Hey, don't let your mother smell that beer on your breath. She'll take it out on me.
I don't want to see you again for the rest of my whole life. I don't want to see anybody else either.
Who is it, Daddy? And what does it do?
Just use your best judgment. We trust you.
Good evening, Dr. Billy Garvey. How are you?
I'm good, Dr. Nick. How are you?
Good. We don't do too many nighttime sessions ever. Rarely ever, if ever.
No.
Maybe one a year now, I reckon.
Yeah. I think I'm more hopeful in the mornings. So maybe, but I'm sure this one will be amazing.
Hope can be a dwindling thing later in the evening.
Yeah. So we're because you're moving to Newcastle. Following me, couldn't live without me. That's the news, folks.
That is fake news. Literal, it's fake news. It is absolute fake news. I'm not moving to Newey. I have moved in with my mother-in-law.
Yeah, where was that on your goals?
Wasn't on my 2025-26 scorecard.
It is a pathway to something that you've been hopeful about for some time, though.
It is, yeah. Doing a little bit of work on the homestead at the moment, and so I've moved in with the in-laws because rent.
Yeah, I know, it's wild.
And also excited, genuinely. I'm not just saying this. She's not a big listener of the pod, but I am genuinely excited. We are on night 1.
Yeah,
and I'm not there for the put down, which is
tough. Yeah, I'm sure you're feeling really
bad. We no, but it's I'm sure it's going really smoothly. I left things in a great state, and
you seen the state here is in.
I came here and I was
screaming.
I just heard it from the outside. I ran at one stage. I thought one of your kids had popped out of the cot. They had. I thought they were running out the back, and if they saw me, you'd have to reset because I'd be too excited. I'd excite them.
Yeah.
And so I bolted, and then Annalise came out and sort of looking around like, where are you? And I was like, I'm over here.
They do. They get very excited when they see you.
Yeah, no,
They're a bit cheeky.
They are fun. They light up, and we love that about them. Hey, we are here for our reflection episode
Yeah,
on
121.
hope. Yeah, 121.
121.
Okay, 11 times 11. There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, do you have anything to cover off though before we start?
So, yeah, a couple of quick things.
All right.
Firstly, massive shout out to, as always, we're only going to be able to cover a little bit of what came through, but some really beautiful stuff about, the bike, getting hit by a car. Also, mate, I am so excited for Newcastle.
Yeah.
The amount of people that have reached out through our socials, through our email, like just trying to help, want to catch up for a beer, go for a run, show us around town. Like, I'm not sure we're coming back just because Newey sounds amazing. Like, I've never been so excited to move to a place I've only been to once.
It is so good.
Yeah.
I've been there a few times. I've told you this.
Yes, that's right,
I've spent a few nights there. I've been there for work. I've been there for social. Stunning beaches.
Yeah.
Merriweather, beautiful city beach, like the whole thing. And also close to Port Stephens and Seal Rock. Anyway, I don't need to go on and sell the idea of the Central Coast, but it is stunning.
Yeah, so really, really excited because we've we haven't never really found outside of you guys much of a community here yet. So really excited for that. And then one technical thing that we were going to ask listeners for help with. We, back in the early days when we were cowboys in this space, we accidentally created 3 Apple Pop Culture Parenting accounts. We were able to get rid of one of them, but the second duplicate we couldn't until recently, right after EP 117. We know it had about 1,000 people a day listening to it, and we keep getting messages saying, why'd you stop it at 117? So if you know someone who listens, can you please let them know just to search for us? It's a weird announcement to make on a podcast, but we can't get to them any other way. We've put it out on our socials, but we're still getting messages nearly every day from people saying, why'd you stop at 117?
Yeah, and if you know someone from Apple Podcasts,
well, yeah, I mean, we
please feel
do.
free to reach out.
They've been amazing, but it's just more of a technical issue that now it's gone. So you have to search for it because if you subscribe to that version of us. There's sorry to those people that it was just one of the small ones that, so we had to keep the main one. So, yeah, technical stuff. But now that boring stuff is over, the polls.
Never boring, Billy, but let's get into the polls because they are always entertaining. We asked 3 questions via our social media, so make sure if you're not following us, go over there and follow, and you can get your input into each of the topics that we talk about on social. Billy, question 1. We asked people, were you taught how to be hopeful with agency and pathways? As a kid, 70% of people said no.
What did you say?
No.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because it's like a skill you can teach, really important.
It's been around a while as well, the science.
Yeah. Yep, Snyder and Lopez.
Yeah. Such good names.
Yeah. So, it's really interesting that it's a skill set that we can teach when we know how, that we've spoken about. But interesting answer to the second poll question.
Do you know how to build hope in your kids? 79% of people said no. Well, Billy, for those people, they go back and listen to episode 1. You teach them how to hope. And can you explain just very quickly what it is? I mean, I could have a crack if you'd like.
Oh, yeah, do it. Dang.
Well, so hope is broken into 2 things. It is hope is broken into agency, which is almost like willpower. Yes. So wanting to do it. So find something that matters to a child, and that's often an easier way to teach agency. Come back and correct me in a second.
And the belief that you can
and
do
the
it.
belief that they can do it. Yeah. The second part of it is pathways, and that is way power. So showing them how to get there. So it's very hard to get someone who doesn't have agency like the pathway because they're kind of like, I can see how to do it, but I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I don't want to go to training.
I don't want to go to training.
Practice.
I don't want to practice. Yeah. But that's what it is, I think. Anything else to add to pathways, Bill?
Pathways, multiple pathways is really important.
That's right. I think I use the analogy of the hedge maze. When you go to the hedge maze and you hit the hedge, you don't just stop and not keep going and trying to move forward. You sort of turn back around, go around and find another route. It's
beautiful.
not about full stops.
But I don't know if you have that personal experience with it. I do, where I'm like really passionate about a goal. Like the social enterprise is a good example. I'm really motivated and I've got a lot of agency with that. And I just have multiple pathways that I run to try and achieve those goals, partnerships with people, like team members and ideas and concepts that we pitch, and some of them land, some of them don't. And it's kind of been a really good practice for me to learn the second part of the development of hope, which is the pathways component about understanding. And the other bit of pathways stuff is seeing when those, pathways that we trial fail, seeing that as feedback, not that we're a failure ourselves. And going, sweet, we didn't put in enough for that pathway, or that wasn't the right pathway. So it's a really important thing for our kids to learn early on.
And last question we asked was, are you hopeful for all of us as a community? 58% of people said yes.
What did you say for that?
I can't remember. I deliberated a long time about it. I remember that.
Same.
It was, I don't know. I am hopeful.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Yeah, I think I am. Like, it's interesting. I sit in clinic, and then personal things. Like, I've probably had the worst 2 weeks possibly of my life in the last 2 weeks since, big relatable health scare, and then just some old trauma coming back to bite me from my childhood. And in those moments, I feel really hopeless. Yeah, about the future and everything like that. It's another really interesting piece of it. I've been thinking about it since that happened. The podcast and the social enterprise and my relationships with you and Alice mainly have really healed me, and a couple of other boys that you and I are friends with have really helped me. But it's not in comparing like, things could be worse. It's just in people validating and then seeing the way that those people cope, support me, and all those things. It's an interesting thing because every day in clinic I would meet a kid who has it worse than me or worse than I did. It doesn't help me too much. Like, it kind of makes me worry, but I don't go, I'm fine then. What have I got to complain about? But I think that, our wait list is still 3 years. The data's getting worse in terms of school entry, mental illness and kids and all that stuff. But I shift back into being hopeful about the future from the agency and pathway I see through the social enterprise, which sounds like a pitch, but it's like, that's just what it is for me personally.
I don't think you're pitching. I think you're just saying it's what your ambition is. And
Well,
that's
yeah,
what you're
like,
trying to do.
yeah, even the
and
book, and
support.
the book was not written for my kids. The book was written for all of the kids around my kids now that will be their future adult relationships, and that's a big motivator for me. Is like,
It is, isn't it?
I can't influence their future relationships, and obviously that has a lot to do with my past and stuff like that. But I think that's where I generate my agency and my pathways when I do feel a lack of hope about the future for all of us as a community.
Yeah, okay. That's it.
So
Let's move on to reflections.
Reflections.
Yeah.
Is it me first?
That's you first, Dr. Billy Garvey.
Okay, amazing. Dear Dr. Nick and Dr. Billy, I wanted to write to you both and let you know how much your podcast has made a difference in my life, personally and professionally. I'm approaching the age of 30 and have had the belief that I would never be a good father and have actively chosen not to pursue becoming one. My dad struggled a lot as a parent, as did his father, and I was not the easiest child to parent. We both struggled with our mental health, and whilst I had a mum who could help me, my dad's mental health declined as he would further isolate himself. He now lives in his car, and I've been forced to put boundaries in place in order to protect my own health. In hindsight, I can now look back and say, despite his shortcoming and abuse, I believe if conversations around masculinity and mental health were modelled the way that you both speak on the podcast, life might have been different early on. I don't blame him, but we're products of the society and culture we live in. I often eschewed male role models and can say with certainty that I've always been hypersensitive to men who will try to fill that parental role. I would often rebel or push them away. In turn, I distrusted myself to the point where I thought I could never even entertain the idea of becoming a parent, as I thought I would inflict the same damage. The way you both speak and reflect on your experience not only gives me hope in my own abilities to one day be a potential parent, but I can reflect on my own maladaptive behaviours from a dysfunctional childhood and apply the lessons from pop culture parenting in my work. A year ago, I think I would have been ashamed to say, I sometimes cry when I listen to the podcast. I am still, but I admit it happens in most episodes. I first heard of Dr. Billy on the Uncomfortable Conversations podcast and read the book on children's mental health. I really identify with Billy's story and constantly revisit the book to enhance my own practice. The back and forth and the openness of conversations makes me hopeful that a positive and empathetic approach in masculinity can be modelled by you both and by me. After a lifetime of willful ignorance on my part, I was doubtful it could be done, but it makes me wish you were both around when I was growing up. Dr. Nick, it sounds like sometimes you're too hard on yourself and your experience as a parent and caregiver. I wish my own father had put as much thought and consideration into his parenting style as you do. Your friendship with Billy and your inquisitive nature about parenting shines through as someone who is self-aware and only wants to do the best for their kids. I began training as a social worker and started a new role in youth suicide prevention about 6 months ago, and I began listening to the podcast around the same time. The podcast allows me a quiet space for reflection. I often find myself questioning whether I have role model positive attributes and attitudes to young people. Last week, after a particularly rough night at work, I listened to the latest episode, 120, Arrival and Hope, and found your concept of hope in helping kids find agency and pathways so applicable in work. I had to pull over to the side of the road and listen to the podcast and write your examples of hope down. I've decided I need to set aside time every week at my desk where I can listen to the podcast and take notes. I don't think I've ever sent feedback to anyone praising them, but with every episode I listen to, I feel like I need to write in and tell you both that selfishly what you're doing is having a positive impact on me. Love your work and keep it up.
God, it's a lovely note.
There's a few of them, isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
Just people doing the actual real work out there.
Yeah. You can write the notes with me. I've started sending
Everyone wants those
snapshots.
cheat sheets.
Yeah, the cheat sheet I've been sending you. All right, reflection number 2. Please don't stop saying beautiful or phenomenal or gorgeous. This is directed
We
at
had a few of these.
This is directed at Billy. Given you were talking about the importance of language in this episode, I just wanted to say that these well-used words of yours have become more than catch cries of PCSP. They are infiltrating common vernacular, at least in my life and my world. There is nothing more beautiful than these uplifting words used to unapologetically describe things that they haven't been allowed to do for so long. Boys and teenagers and men and children and male tenderness and male relationships and father and son interactions, fatherly love, male vulnerability, strength in all the many forms. And of course, you use them for so many more things than these, but it is starkly obvious when you used to be reserved mostly for superficial feminine things, are given new meaning. These words have been so beautifully used in repetition by you guys that they have overwritten their prior narrow uses. They have been elevated. God. I love the colour these words have brought to my own vocabulary and the way I see things. I love that I can hear your voice using them when I'm trying to channel strength and when encouraging others and when describing anything remotely positive, both at home and even at my work. These adjectives just lift the description, especially when using it where they wouldn't normally seem comfortable and familiar. And I have you to thank for the infiltration into my inner monologues and my everyday conversation. Please keep rewriting the rules and please hear my words when you say beautiful from now on. We need more beautiful in all our lives and more people telling us our thoughts and words and actions are beautiful. Poor Gretchen couldn't make the fetch happen, but maybe we can make beautiful happen.
Mean girls.
Fetch. Lots of love to you two beautiful, phenomenal, gorgeous men and your beautiful, phenomenal, gorgeous relationship. P.S. Billy, I was so happy to hear you are taking long service leave and moving to Newcastle with the family. You so deserve the family time you currently give. You currently try to squeeze in between saving humanity. Universe comes up with the good sometimes.
Amazing. Yeah, a lot of people say, yeah, well, I remember someone said stop apologising for crying, and now I'll stop apologising for saying the word beautiful. Dear Nick and Billy, long-time listener, but first time writing in. The first time I watched Arrival, I was profoundly moved, and ever since the music in that scene has been go-to song when I just need a good cry. While I've cherished every episode of PCP, your recent discussion on hope especially resonated with me, reminding me how often others have inspired me to discover hope within myself. As a child, school was tough and I struggled academically. Learning difficulties paired with lots of rhythm in my body made it hard to sit still and focus on subjects that didn't capture my interest. I struggled to connect the dots between school and the relevance to other things that I love to do. But in my early teens, something changed. I realised that finishing school was the gateway to getting where I wanted in life, even if I wasn't sure what that looked like yet. So I committed myself to improving my grades. Despite my hard work in the eyes of several of my teachers, I was still a distracted and challenging student. One teacher even told my parents, right in front of me, not to expect me to amount to much, predicting I probably wouldn't graduate high school and dismissing my goal of attending university as unrealistic. I've often wondered where I'd be today if I'd believed that teacher. What if I hadn't been lucky enough to have other voices in my life to counteract them? My parents, for example, who firmly disagreed and always encouraged me with unconditional love to keep pursuing my goals, even when I felt hopeless and ready to give up. Luckily, I also had other teachers who gave me the support I needed, who I chose to listen to instead. My maths teacher, the subject I struggled with the most, asked me one afternoon to stay after class. He told me he noticed how much effort I was putting in and said, with a kind smile, that I might never be a mathematician, and that was perfectly okay. What truly mattered, he explained, was my determination and willingness to keep trying despite setbacks. That attitude, he said, would take me further in life than memorising the times tables ever could. He gently suggested I invest more time in the areas where my natural strengths shone rather than focusing all my energy on maths. Gradually, I realised that my strengths lay in the arts and connecting with people, which inspired me to complete a master's degree in counselling and a career that allows me the privilege of helping others navigate challenging life transitions. Years later, as fate would have it, I found myself seated next to my former maths teacher on a flight. I finally had the opportunity to thank him for the impact he had on my life. To him, it was just an ordinary day at work. To me, he'd been my guiding light who gave me back the spark of hope when I needed it. As I live in Norway and it's unlikely I'll be seated on a flight besides either of you, Nick and Billy, anytime soon, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for the impact PCP has had on my parenting journey. My husband and I have been trying to conceive for some time. The 2-week cycle of hope and hopelessness is exhausting, and at times I found myself retreating from the friends with kids because it's painful to be reminded of what I'm longing for. But PCP has become a source of hope for me. Not only by equipping me with the parenting skills I hope to use one day as a parent myself, but I'm also reminded that I can still make a meaningful difference in the lives of the children around me today. Whether it's the kids in my close circle of friends or my beautiful nephew, PCP has helped me discover purpose in leaning into and supporting my community. Thank you for the light you bring, for inspiring hope, and for reminding me that for meaningful parenting journeys come in many different forms. Wishing you and your family all the best.
Nice note.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah.
Yo? It's more of a yo. Yeah.
But yes, it is totally amazing. The shorts, I think there's 9.
Yes, there is. It's all right.
9 shorts, 5 longs.
You may have seen me adjusting my phone in my phone a lot then. It's because I'm that old that I've just notched up the zoom on all the text. I couldn't read the first questions. I was like, this is going to be rough. I'm like, when I pick up my mum's phone, my dad's phone, I'm like, oh my God, I'm literally halfway there.
Really?
Oh, it's pretty big font, isn't it?
You're in the case.
You can
I'm
read
waiting for you to get
You can read it, Billy.
It's great.
Hey, shorts time, Billy. This is where we ask short questions that people send through the Instagram poll. So again, follow us on social and you'll be able to answer questions or ask questions on any topic every fortnight. Well, fortnight-ish. Shorts. Can hope change what happens in real life or just how we feel about it?
What do you think?
Can hope change what happens in real life or just how we feel about it? Yeah.
Yeah. Why?
Because having hope, I think to me it's a lot of the pathway start. Like you can see the goal. So if you have hope, it'll get you closer to getting what you're trying to achieve, sort of thing.
Yeah. So hope's not purely a reflection or a feeling; it's an action.
It's an action. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if you're really hopeful, you have that bit of agency, but you'd really need the pathway bit. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
I think so.
Yeah. So yeah, What you might be thinking about, which comes up in another short, is different things like optimism,
Ah,
or
right.
wishful thinking, or things like that. But those are general feelings and beliefs. They're not actions like hope is.
Oh, good one. How do you teach kids about hope, age 10 and 5? Examples would be amazing. It's a good question.
Yeah, so if you think about a 5-year-old, for example, and Evie's, you've got a 5-year-old, I've got a 4-year-old, they're very concrete in their thinking, and a lot of the lessons that we give them are purely play-based. They also have short attention spans. So when we're thinking about building hope in them, we want to be really direct and we want to be really obvious in the way that we're doing it. Obviously, we've talked about building hope in narratives and storytelling. You know, this character was really struggling with something, but they really cared about the outcome, and so they sought to save the day. They needed help from other people, so they went around and got their friends, like a superhero or something. And they realised if they all worked together, they were going to be able to save the people that were trapped in the cave, whatever. You can also do it through simple play games. Like, we talked about this last time. I just did it tonight with Evie, where, you know, they wanted to play a game. I was trying to wind them down. That idea of sleep being a progression from active to calm to sleep. So I needed to move away from an active game. So we're just doing a puzzle. Now, it's really important, and it comes off the back of the play one as well, in that I let her lead. So she picks the puzzle, and then I go, what do we do? Talk about the goal. Let's see if we can get it done before we need to go to bed. What do you think? Is that a good goal? Yeah, that's a good goal. A goal that I'm trying to work on with Evie across everything is that we all have fun. She's struggling at birthday parties when past the parcel and she doesn't win, all of that stuff. So I'm trying to shift away the goal from being winning to the goal about like all of us having fun together. Charlie's helping with that. She's actually doing it beautifully because she's actually helping Charlie learn this. Because what I've taught Evie with Charlie is that what do you want him to do? Give him to do something. Because she's like, don't do that, taking things off him, all of that stuff. And I'm like, what do you want him doing? And she's getting really good at going, you tip all the puzzle pieces out instead of he's going to mess it up. And then she's learning the collaborative component in a pathway is that we do it together. And that's what Rachel Kohler spoke about. Is there's the willpower, there's the way power, and there's the we power. And that's a really important thing from kids once they start playing together. And we see that early emergence of that in a 5-year-old. So I want her to see that she can set goals and achieve them through pathways that include other people.
Jeez.
The 10-year-old, it has a early emergence of what we call abstract thinking. They can actually conceptualize things in their future without having experienced them or seeing them actually happen. We can also ask them where their purpose is tied to their goals. I want to get really good at soccer. I want to make the soccer team, for example. You go, cool, I reckon you can do it. You've got what it takes, I'm going to help you. What do we need to do that? We need to practice. We need to do this. I need to learn about it. I need to try. I need to get to know the other kids on the team. I need to get to know the coach. I need to show the coach I'm motivated. Those are all the pathways. And they're also the opportunities, whether it's in the play, it's in a board game, it's in Uno, it's in not making the soccer team, to go, God, that sucks that happened, and sit there and let them hold that space and then think, what else can we do? So what else can we do if we can't figure out the puzzle? We can go get the box, we can try and figure out the corners, we can count and see if there's pieces missing, all of that stuff is the 5-year-old. The 10-year-old, this was really hard. What could we do? We could try again. We could look at another soccer team. We could think of a different sport. We could think about doing this with our mates in just a fun way. All of that stuff and validating their opportunity to experience that as a failure, but then seeing it as feedback and which way we can move through it. And that's more applicable to the 10-year-old. Also teaching them things like problem solving. You can teach problem solving to a 10-year-old in a way that's conversational, whereas the 5-year-old needs it more play-based focused.
Wow.
So,
I like that. The questions in with the 10-year-old, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but with Ron, you're mainly in play.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to figure out a puzzle, they're trying to stack a game, they're trying to win Uno, they're trying to do whatever, and you're just sitting there playing with them and exploring it. What's the goal you're setting? How do we get good at this? Narrating it, talking about it, exploring it, not telling her, you know, just open questions, but they're targeted on, I'm trying to teach you pathways, I'm trying to teach you agency.
Yep. You've just stolen my Winslow, by the way. It's very Uno related.
Oh, really?
Oh, my God.
Great.
Uno's back. It's really good. Sorry. Just when you said it, I just lit up. I was like, I've been playing it with the girls. Anyway, that's next episode. Hey, Billy, the world is angry. how do you build hope when all the hopeful are portrayed as the enemy?
Yeah, there was a few that came through like that on that theme, and I, as I said at the start, like about that third poll question, I feel a little bit like that. But I think that in the same way, I think setting realistic goals, thinking about the collaborative component with our kids, with our partners, with our broader community, like I'm very relationship driven, so I can push back against that feeling, which overwhelms me at times as well, about seeing the collective agency I have with Annalise in trying to build a good family, the collective agency I have with you in trying to build this podcast. I have colleagues at work that are amazing, that we have a really shared value set, and we're trying to build the capacity of the broader community, whatever it is. And so I find that, and then I spend a lot of time working in the pathway space, and that's how I meet that need. So I think also look around. There's people everywhere that are trying to do this work that are much more at the coalface than I am, and you'll hear some stories from them through this, and that's how I don't get overwhelmed in what's going on in the world at the moment.
Okay. How do you teach hope for your sons when your own childhood taught you hope was dangerous? Oh, why is hope dangerous?
If you've experienced childhood trauma, traumatic abusive relationships, insecure attachment, then being hopeful about future relationships or experiences can harm you, because that kind of setting yourself up for disappointment or failure can be really harmful. Some of the researchers say there's no such thing as false hope, because people who are good at building agency and pathways around hope that then don't succeed are very good at adjusting, which is that component that we talk about in trying to build in kids'
Pathways,
reflection and problem solving. But I think that that's the challenge of that. I think that, I'm not really at the point where I can go into it much at the moment, but I think a beautiful thing that Annalise said to me a week ago, or less than that ago, when some of my old stuff came up, was just that, you should be really proud of yourself that you've been able to break that cycle. And not everyone has that capacity. They don't have the resources and skills that you do. And I guess that was a really powerful thing for me to hear, looking at these three little kids and saying, like, how do I change their experience? And how do they have a different belief and hope for future relationships, understanding that the relationships they have with you and I, with Annalise, with a handful of other people and each other will be their blueprints for future relationships. So hope in relationships is really important. And I find it's a great vulnerability in me, is that I don't trust relationships because of what's happened in my past. And I'm learning to get better at that. And I only started really learning that in my mid-30s. So I think there is a way to break that cycle. And it's one of the phenomenal things that I see happen in clinic every single day.
Yep. Thinking about the future and those relationships with the kids, it's going to be great. Yours, I think it's going to be a fun period ahead.
Yeah. My place is wild, but there's it's chaotic. There's you'll love the final short, and I'll leave it for the final short. That's how we live.
All right, hey Billy, what's the relationship between hope and resilience?
Yeah, do you want to?
I'm just trying to think about resilience. So,
can you remember what resilience is?
I can remember
This was
aspects of
ages back.
resilience. No, I can remember this because it is very hard to be resilient if there's unresolved trauma.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay, that's one of the key things you have to tick first.
Yeah, beautiful.
Then you have to, it's like not feel loved, or you have to feel loved.
Safe, loved, celebrated.
Safe, loved,
yeah,
celebrated.
beautiful.
That's it. That's a key part.
Yeah. But what is resilience? Can you remember that? It's okay if you can't.
No,
a lot of
I'm
people
wasting everyone's time. I would have just, if I was going to give you a broad example, I said the ability to bounce back.
Yeah, beautiful. It's the ability to face adversity and come through it with a healthy coping mechanism.
Okay, yeah.
So it's not burying it, don't trust anyone anymore, be angry at the world, all that stuff, or just to ignore those feelings and experience that had happened. And that's what happens a lot with PTSD and trauma and all that stuff. And remembering trauma doesn't give us resilience, it tests whether we have it or not. So, and repeated complex trauma, what we call it clinically, can be really detrimental to the ability to develop resilience. And the resilience is made up of like 50 different things, not two things or anything like that.
Gotcha.
things like communication skills, self-esteem, emotional regulation, conflict resolution, like a lot of the stuff we've done over the last nearly 4 years all feed into being resilient.
Yep.
And that's not just the kid. Resilience comes from caregivers, siblings, broader community, family, school, all that stuff. Everything feeds in. It's an ecological model. There is a bit of an overlap. So hope is different because hope is a cognitive skill set in goal setting, believing you'll achieve them and then achieving those goals. And hope is more closely tied to success in life than resilience. But if you have a reflective component of failing when you set goals and try pathways, and you can think back to times where you've been resilient and you have that sense of self, then that can make you more hopeful for future attempts at things. So there is a bit of overlap.
Does resilience fit into the pathways bit?
Yes, it can. Yeah, because if you say you fail, you go, I'm going to go up and talk to that person, and I want to make a friend.
Yep.
And then you go over and you go, oh man, they told me to get stuffed, or they ignored me, or didn't want to talk to me, or something, which I've spoken about on the pod happening to Evie. If she can reflect after she's validated that experience herself, or someone's helped her validate it, and go, that's happened to me before. And actually, I've got other friends that are really great, and I didn't let it destroy me, think I wouldn't be able to make friends, all that kind of stuff, think that I'm not a good friend, then that's what resilience is. And that's how resilience can help hope. Okay. So does that make sense?
Does make sense.
Yeah.
Question 6, 4 to go. Is optimism and hope the same? What's the difference? Can we change or teach either?
So, yeah, you can definitely change both of them. Hope is something you can teach more than optimism, because optimism is really just a general vague belief that good things will happen in the future. It's not an action.
It's a nice default, though.
Yeah, definitely. And like being an optimist is helpful. The problem is that just believing that isn't actually doing it. So the kind of glass is half full is great, but if you're not achieving what you want to, just believing that it will happen is not enough.
No, I totally get that, but I think it's nice to have a default as being optimistic.
Totally, but say one of the kids is really struggling to learn how to read, and she's just optimistic about it. Yeah, I'll get it one day. It's not going to be enough, is it? No. So it's a nice baseline to come off, but you have to have the acting bit of it that's like, this is what we're going to do. I think you're capable of this. When you learn how to read, it's going to be awesome to have you read to me. This is something that really seems to matter to you. Is that right? Yeah, cool. All right, this is what we're going to do. This is a pathway we're going to test. We're going to sit down every night for 10 minutes and just enjoy learning this together.
We, not you.
Yes, always we.
Always. Yes.
Everything is
when we, not if you.
Yes, beautiful. Bang.
That one's stuck with me. Absolute glue.
Yeah, amazing.
Hey, Billy. How can you be hopeful when your child is suicidal?
Yeah, so this needs to be there because we see these kids in clinic, like, even recently, like having these kids and even parents, especially in the postnatal depression window. And it's a really helpful thing to teach our fellows that we do, but there's, this is a huge risk factor that exists in our community and not many people understand how to deal with it. When I think about this question, I think about the goal for these kids being initially survival, but beyond that, they need to thrive and they need to flourish and they need to live rich and meaningful lives. The actual pathways for that are different for all kids, but the best evidence sits in a therapy we haven't talked about that we should go into more, which is DBT, dialectical behavioural therapy. This amazing woman called Dr. Marsha Lenham, I think, an American psychologist, is the person who built all this evidence off the back of like the 70s and 80s CBT, which we've spoken about, cognitive behavioural therapy, not really meeting the needs of these people, because what a lot of people who feel like they don't want to live anymore experience when someone says just change the way you're thinking is, there's something wrong with me then, but there's not anything wrong with them.
What was the D, Billy?
Dialectic.
What does that mean?
The two things can be true, kind of, is a way of thinking about it.
Example?
I'm really stressed and life is awful, but it will not always be this way.
Right. Okay.
So, and the first part of that therapy is acceptance. You might remember ACT therapy, acceptance and commitment therapy we spoke about maybe 5, 6 topics ago, which was all about accepting and then committing to actions. what DBT is about validating that experience and like really validating it. So like, you don't want to live anymore. That must be awful. And that is a genuine experience you're having and all those things. Then what it moves towards is, and often what the pathways are, is how do you build stronger relationships and a more meaningful life? And things like DBT is built on things like frustration tolerance, emotional regulation, mindfulness, and social skills. So those are like the 4 pillars, I think, from memory that exist around it. And that's really important that that's the actual pathway. So we need to get to the goal bit of rich and meaningful life, not just surviving till tomorrow. Surviving till tomorrow is an actual technique that gets used within that therapeutic space of 24 hours. Because we know that in the moments we often move towards harmful things and we often spiral. So, for example, I've gone through bouts of this, and when you get really depressed and low, you internalize and shut down everything in your outside world, and that just confirms that I have no good relationships and that life isn't meaningful for me and there's no pathway out of this, and you just spiral down. And so thinking about what are things that I can avoid that are harmful, but what are healthy things that I can move toward is just gently, after I've validated this is a real experience that I'm having, that's the pathway. Wow. That's the pathway for those kids.
Okay.
And it's harrowing for the families, but understanding that if you're experiencing that, you need access to people that have the skill sets. And that's why, like, actual therapists, actual psychologists, these guys know that space. And DBT is not the only answer, but it's one of the best evidence bases that there is, and people should learn more about it, seek it out if you've got a child who's struggling with that.
Gotcha. So my inflection was pretty weird at the start of that question. I hadn't read the question. And
it's okay.
I saw where the topic
catch
went. I was like, oh.
I didn't catch it. There's two more that are light. So.
Well, I sometimes bring energy to the start of a question and then I go, oh, I've mismatched what this is about. Anyway, apologies. Hey, is there any hope that I'll find a Nick? Can hope be learned at 37? Asking for my husband.
Do you know, I actually sent that in as the first test because I always test the polls when I put them up. And then someone else sent them. No, someone else sent it as well. That's how I didn't word it like that. But yeah, there is hope, like that you'll find a Dr. Nick. And yes, you can totally learn hope in your later years. You can learn it at any time. I think there's this misbelief that like you can't learn a language in your adult life. Like your cognitive plasticity is less. So kids that are immersed in a second language, they just pick it up better. Yeah. Whereas it's harder, but you can still learn it, and we often have a lot more agency. Oh.
So should I just move to Spain for 6 months by myself and immerse myself in Spanish?
by yourself? That's interesting. Where were you on the yachts again?
It was all over Europe, but didn't learn any languages.
What was that sigh about? Was that?
I can't
believe I wasted those years, or I could have been.
I could have been learning languages. Thanks, Billy. Hey, Billy, number 9, final question. Is there any hope laundry gets washed and put away? Ever?
It's so good because even Benny, one of our good mates, who's come up on the pod lots but never been mentioned by name, but he's often the guy that we're praising. He walked through our house on the weekend and he was like, mate, I'm glad to see that you've got a pile of laundry that just sits there. And I was like, mate, that's where I just get my clothes from these days. So they never make it there. So that was funny, just him blowing past town and saying that.
It's lovely to see him. Hey, question 1, we have 5 long questions. You ready to roll?
Yeah, ready to roll.
Okay, beautiful. Oh, it's infectious. You're beautiful, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. God, that other punter was right. Hi, gents. Love this topic. Thank you for the effort you put in, as always. I am a pastoral care leadership role. I am in a pastoral care leadership role at a high school. I'm a parent, but my question is from the lens of an educator. Short version, how do educators and parents instill hope in a young person when their enrolment at a school has ended, i.e. they're expelled? Long version, by far the hardest decision to make in a pastoral care and leadership role is when you advise a family, a young person, that their enrolment will no longer continue and they should seek education elsewhere. This decision is never made lightly. Only once every avenue of support has been accessible over a lengthy period would this unfortunate option be explored. Supports may include counselling, engaging on community activities, sport and cultural activities, adjusting assessments, learning support, learning diagnosis, adjusting timetables, celebrating success, individual learning plans, career counselling, financial support, older buddy mentors, etc. When advising families of this outcome, educators feel they are giving up, or as I now know how to articulate it, giving up hope for a young person. Obviously, the educators never give up hope for a young person or family. We always want the best for our young people in our community. But logistically, not being the support person every day for a young person at school, sometimes it could be the last time you'll ever see them again. The wandering mind of a caring educator would often think, gee, I wonder how that student is going. I hope they are doing well. In some positive stories, I've spoken with families and students much later in life after they've been asked to leave a school. Often young people see this as a catalyst of positive change in their life. Sometimes this significant event for a young person and family can lead to changes in behaviour, relationships with others and perspectives on life. Another perspective on ending enrolments in schools is that they advise the family that they can re-enroll again in the future once routines, behaviours, etc. have improved. I wonder whether this is cruel, creating a false sense of hope. Dr. Billy and Nick, please share any wisdom you have and provide any advice. 1. How educators navigate this extremely difficult situation in maintaining dignity for the young person and family. 2. How can educators care for themselves after this occurs? Most people work in education long term because our personal values align with the values of the school or community. Ending an enrolment, to some extent, goes against the inclusiveness or compassionate values. The cognitive stress weighs heavy on many educators and leaders. Any wisdom appreciated. Thank you so much, guys. Have a happy holidays and Christmas with your families.
So yeah, really passionate, really challenging thing for educators to go through, and obviously the families and the kids and the broader community. I phoned a friend for this one.
Yeah, I've just seen this.
So Rebecca Harris.
Oh, Beck Harris.
So yeah, she
The one and only.
The one and only.
The one and only guest.
So the one and only guest, yeah, the only other person to share the studio with us.
Right.
So which she's going to give an answer. Becca's phenomenal. She spent over nearly 2 decades in a school that faced significant external challenges, beautiful cohort of kids, and that was where I first met her many, many years ago. She now works as a therapist in the space, but also does a lot for Guiding Growing Minds and outside of Guiding Growing Minds. Communities love her, schools love her. If you can, reach out to her or to us to get her to come out. This is her answer. As you say, we know that for many schools these decisions are not made lightly, and only after all other options are being tried. One thing that I find helpful is being clear that the decision is not a rejection of the student, but an attempt to solve a problem. While it takes agency away from the student to see them as the problem, we can reframe to sit with the problem outside of them, acknowledging that the student is not thriving the way we want for them at this school, and so supporting them to not lose their agency. In seeing the issue as not solely with the student, we leave room for things to be better in another setting. Educators are skilled at sharing their strengths they see, and this is a beautiful offering in a situation like this. Educators can leave a student with an image of themselves that contains strengths and hopes for the future, not just the negative feedback that will have come their way. Our belief in students can be a powerful thing to give, even if in the moment it may not seem enough. Part of an educator having agency themselves is often holding on to the belief that they can always make the difference for a student, but it is important to remember that the path to making this difference might sometimes involve difficult decisions like student changing schools, while maintaining the hope that this pathway will lead to a positive outcome. You describe the way that educators want the best for the student and don't want to feel they're giving up, but sometimes the combination of a school and student just isn't right, in spite of best efforts for many reasons. One school can't always be the right school for every student, even a really excellent one. It can be so difficult to not know what happens when students change schools, but we can remind ourselves that the reality is that sometimes the opportunity to make a change, meet other educators, be in a new environment, have a chance to reinvent or join a different social group can be a game changer for a student. We walk alongside them while they're in our care and do our best to send our hope off with them if they have to leave. Great practical answer. Like, as someone who's been in the education space for so long, and without making it about me, that was my journey. Like, kicked out of school when you're 11, no one of the other schools would take me, and really hard, but it was the best thing that happened to me. Like, so, and I felt like a failure. I didn't have educators saying, I hope you do okay. But yeah, it was just not the right place. And what we talk about in clinic a lot is, and it's really interesting because every time I meet the school, I'm like, the school is amazing. They're trying so hard. But we often talk to kids and families about, you deserve to be having a better experience than this. And you deserve to be somewhere that celebrates you. You have positive relationships and experiences. You walk through those gates feeling like it's a stronger place because of you. A lot of positive affirmation and unconditional positive regard. And when that's not happening for lots of different reasons, many of them outside of the school's realm, it can be something that needs to happen. And we often talk about kids getting expelled or things like bullying or really bad stuff happening in school communities is a sign the school doesn't have enough support, not that it's a bad school.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, brilliant. Great answer. Beck Harris. Hey, question 2, Billy. Hi, Nick and Billy. Love your work. Seriously, life-changing. Some quick-fire questions I've been thinking about as a teacher and parent. 1, when a student or young person faces a setback, which is inevitable with complex behaviours on the rise, how do we support them to plan for alternative pathways? And how do we co-create a plan B and plan C with them that are realistic? Number 2, Billy. Do you want to go number 2 or you want to answer that?
Oh, let's answer that one. So let's change it from a student. What about when one of the girls faces a setback? How do you support them to plan for alternative pathways? And how do you co-create a plan B and plan C that's realistic? What do you do first? You go straight to the plan B, plan C?
No, you got to validate the feelings. So, geez, that must be annoying that didn't come off.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Beautiful.
No good? Yeah. I'd feel pretty bad too.
Yeah, amazing.
Give
space. Sit with it.
Sit with it, yep. What could we do about it, do you reckon?
Beautiful.
Nah, can't do anything. It's no good. Does feel hopeless, doesn't it? Do you reckon we could try something like this?
Yeah.
I jump into a mode of where I go like, after that, like if I'm smart enough in the moment to hold space, which I'm not just saying this, it's rare because I like to hit it with a bit of energy.
You do. Beautiful energy.
I hit it with a lot of beautiful energy, good. But I like to go, I've seen you do this before. When I get met with that nut stuff, and I go, I've seen you over. Yeah, I keep crapping on about riding a bike and swimming, and I'll do it till I find something better. But I'll go, I've seen you do this before where you've had setbacks. So I give me a little history check.
Yeah, amazing.
Is it?
It is amazing. Yeah, beautiful.
You sure?
Yeah, it's what we were talking about before. That resilience coming from reflection and finding alternative pathways.
Yeah, I kind of like to do it that way. I'm like, I remember you felt really crappy when you couldn't do this. If I get that initial like, I can't do anything, stuff, I'm never going back.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't try and do too much in that. I'd just probably let it go, to be honest.
Yeah, well, you probably wouldn't let it go forever.
No, not forever.
Yeah, you just give them a bit of space, and then you'd probably... A nice thing to do is to reflect on the goal as well, to come back and be like, what's our goal? What are we trying to achieve here? And for the little kid, it's often just concrete, like, I want to win, I want to be fast, I want to be able to do this. But for the older kids, it's often about peer relationships and kind of, I want to fit in, I want to be accepted, I want to feel like I'm doing well. That idea of what we talked about last time, that hope scale around like, how am I going compared to my peers and other people? And that's a really important thing to reflect on and try and build a sense of positivity around kids and hope and think about you're actually doing really well. But you can't step straight to that as like a plan B and plan C. So yeah, that's the part 1.
Okay. Hey, Billy, part 2. Yeah, I'll give it to you. Here you go, mate. We know trauma is a factor in developing hope in young people. How do we ensure our interventions in schools or out of schools are not just stopping the behaviours that might be complex, but explicitly teaching the student the pathway skills, the emotional and social how-to, so they can access their own hopeful future?
So as you said, we don't build anything besides healing and repairing kids that have experienced trauma. And a lot of the kids we meet in clinic, we say this to the fellows, are in active trauma. It's not a part of their history. They're still in traumatic relationships and environments. And the kid decides that, not everyone around them saying, you're fine, you're safe here. Wait till you get to the end, and when you hear one of the last ones. The other bit of it is like, when we think about behaviours, we're never trying to stop anything. So with my own kids, anyone I meet in clinic, I see a behaviour and I'm trying to think what's underneath it. And there's a feeling, an emotion and a need that they have and a skill set they don't have when behaviours that are maladaptive or that are harming them or others.
A feeling, an emotion, or a need.
Yeah. So Evie snatches something off Charlie.
Yeah, and they're missing a skill to deal with it.
Yeah, she's missing an ability to communicate her needs in that moment. Frustration tolerance because he's got something she wants. You know, that's why she's doing that behaviour. And I fall into it all the time. I say, stop snatching. It doesn't help her at all.
It doesn't.
But if I tell you to stop doing something, stop crossing your legs like that. It's all you can focus on, it's all you can think about. Where if I'm like, sit up tall, feel strong, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm guiding you towards. Ask him if you can have it. Say that, please, can I have it after you? Come to me when you're frustrated. So that's what we want to think about, especially in trauma. A lot of it is relational based and a lot of it is help seeking. That's all we want kids to do. So a kid who is struggling with an experience and behaviours in a classroom or in a home environment, all we're trying to say is come to me. Come to me in some form that signals that you're struggling. My role is to help you. We say this to Evie all the time. Our role is to help you. It's the best job we have. And we're always trying to. And when I can move away from the stop snatching and think about, and it's like I said earlier, Evie has beautifully taken what I've been trying to help her with, and now she tells Charlie to do stuff. She's like, can you do this for me? She gets ahead of it.
Wow.
And she just realizes and goes, Charlie, can you help me with this? Can you do that thing? Because you can get him to do something. And it's a really important part of goal setting in hope is that we want to be doing something, not stopping doing something. It's much harder to stop doing something. There's no direction in it. You know, there's no move towards something in it.
Yeah.
It's just avoid, you know, and it's not a healthy behaviour. So that's why we think about with kids that are traumatised is mainly we want really small steps towards positive behaviours that meet the underlying need that is missing and the skill set that's missing. And we scaffold opportunities, give them direct, safe environments and relationships to build their capacity to help seek, conflict resolve, express their emotions, communicate their needs, whatever it is. That's what most of my role in clinic is.
Wow.
Is why is this behaviour there? And I don't stop behaviours. I put healthier stuff in place by building capacity and skill sets and meeting the underlying need.
Wow.
Hopefully that makes sense.
Totally makes sense. Sounds very logical.
Yeah, definitely. But it's easy to get caught up in like this kid swearing at me, this kid throwing chairs through his classroom windows, this kid self-harming, whatever it is. But, you know, self-harming, stimming, all of these things, like we've got to move away from I want you to stop doing this. Stimming's the best example because actually stimming for a lot of kids is an expression of joy or a way that they alleviate anxiety. I think we've done it all in self-harm and mental health first aid, but it's the same. You don't go, I want you to stop self-harming. You go, this is a signal that you are struggling and I'm going to show you that signal works. I'm going to help you with what's going on underneath this and give you healthier coping mechanisms to deal with the anxiety that you're overwhelmed with. We never try and stop something. Anyway, that's a very long answer.
Yeah, it's a ripper. Thank you. I was just trying to, I have to go back and listen.
But you can put that across the spectrum. You can put, like we can put that with our kids, just the simple stuff about like, you know, stop yelling, stop screaming, stop splashing water in the bath, stop snatching, whatever it is, and try and frame shift that to what do I want you doing? How do I help you do that? That's like most of where like the humanistic approach sits.
All right. Question 3. Yeah. I really got to get Matt.
Sorry,
I really
go.
really got to get that together. Hey, Billy. Oh, hi, Nick and Billy. I've had the pleasure of listening to you guys for the last 2 years, if not longer. It's been an incredible source of information and guidance for myself and my wife. We both devoured Billy's book also, and try to apply the tips and information when we can to our beautiful kids. Our gorgeous 7, almost 8-year-old daughter and 5-year-old son. The podcast has changed my view about relationships and parenting in so many positive ways. Thank you. I often listen to you on my long runs sometimes, and sometimes I stop because I'm laughing, and sometimes the weirdo on the walking trail near my home. Sometimes I'm the weirdo on the walking trail near my home crying and sweating. This topic though grabbed me and twisted me inside. This topic though grabbed me and twisted me inside. Even writing this, it hurt me physically. Hope. My family has needed a lot of hope in the last 4 years. Our smart, empathetic, silly, quirky, gorgeous girl has had a rough ride. I'm not sure where to start, so I'll start by trying to briefly describe the situation. Our kid went from a normal, 3-year-old that every now and then got a sore back and hip when she got any illness like a cold, etc. We didn't think much of it at first, but as the complaint of pain frequency increased, so did my concern. This was also starting in the mix of COVID, so things in healthcare were slow, clunky. I feel like I was getting a little bit crazy. We live in regional Victoria, so in 2021 we finally caught COVID. The whole family was down for the count. My kid had no symptoms of pain, and my kid had no symptoms, just pain, and a lot of it. Then she couldn't weight bear it all. I panicked, took her to ED, where she had loads of tests. Finally, someone decided to MRI her spine, and there it was, her spinal cord, as the neurosurgeon described it, as a tortuous spinal AVM that was compressing on her nerves. We also found out it was due to a rare genetic disorder, HHT. That's a whole other story. HHT, do you know what that is?
Yes, it is very rare, but
Okay.
an AVM is a blood vessel malformation is the best way to think about it.
Okay. Now, I could continue to go on about the ride we had since then. We are linked in with so many people trying to help in the great children's hospital in this country, in the greatest children's hospital in this country. But simply put, as a neurosurgeon put it, there's nothing to be done. Watch, wait, and support her. And some things that was also said was to take loads of photos and videos, live big, so she can look back. In other words, at some point, that AVM, arterial venous malformation, wrapped around her spine may well rupture, and that could be, as they put it, catastrophic. In the meantime, life goes on, and as they put it, people don't see my hurt. As the kid puts it, the people don't see my hurt. She has chronic pain. It flares up when she's tired, sick, growing. Most nights she cries to sleep while I rub her back and try to whisk her mind away to her favourite place, the ocean. See, amongst the tablets she swallows on the daily, the many trips and appointments we do to get on with life. She's also very smart. The psychologist says kids with pain can activate other parts of their brain, and it's like a superpower. That's great, but I know she would rather not have this so-called superpower. Often, it's not fair. No one gets me, is what they say. All of this is true. She wears a great mask, hides her pain to all but myself and her mum. Now to the hope. Billy. I look at my gorgeous son. I see him in the mind's eye as a great, strong man. I allow myself to think of what will come in time as he grows. With my daughter, to be honest, it's blank. My mind quite literally will not create thought of what will be her future. I don't know where to find hope for her future as I'm locked in the now. As her pain worsens, it makes it even harder. But I also worry about her and how to provide her with hope and mean it. When this all happened, we thought a surgery would fix the problem. And as she screamed in pain, I promised her that someone clever was going to make it all go away. When the decision was made that it was not safe to operate, I had to tell this clever then 4-year-old there was nothing that could be done to take the pain away. She still talks about that to this day. My question after a long-winded and disjointed story, what can I do? We try so hard to not let this define her or our family. How can I begin to break out of the black hole of hopelessness in this? I do not want to pass this feeling to her in any way. I want her to be bold, brave, have hope without how will she succeed in overcoming anything in this situation. Thanks for reading. I don't expect to be part of the podcast as I realise it's specific and unusual. You have no idea how much you've helped me as a parent build my relationship and my family. Thank you very much.
Yeah, gosh. I mean, saying it's specific and unusual, like it's heartbreaking. I can't imagine what that's like.
No idea.
And meeting those kids in clinic, but I still can't really relate to what that must be like. And I think, you know, what the literature would say about when we feel hopeless is that we set like small achievable goals and we try and find an experience of hope that succeeds in small little ways and try and build that out. And on a much lower level, like I've had to go through that myself in different points of my life where I just couldn't, it was blank. Like, and that person describes it so beautifully, like it's too scary to think about a future, like because of what it might mean. I can't see it. It terrifies me if I think too much about it. I'm not sure it's going to be there like I am for another child or myself. But thinking about what are the small achievable goals, and like obviously we do that in a skill development component of how to teach kids and ourselves to be hopeful. But I think it's also a really important component of when things are too big and we can't actually have any hope because they're too terrifying and scary and there's too much uncertainty, trying to fall back to those smaller things can be really helpful. And I get this neurosurgeon saying like take photos and live life to the big world and all that stuff, but I still think you've got to get down to the little stuff and be like, you know, and this is how we live our lives. Like, I don't know about you, but we often will be looking forward to things. Like there's a belief that you have to have things that are in a reachable time frame to look forward to and specific things. And especially if you work towards them, whether that's saving money or you're building up like something. And we do this with Evie and Charlie, who we're starting to do it with now, where we're like, if we can do this together, let's do something fun on the weekend together to celebrate it. We stuff this up a bit where often it's around like lollies and stuff like that. And we try and make it around experiences together and relationships. And we're getting slowly better at that. And often that's where we build the hope. I think that it can be really hard for any of us to think about the long-term stuff, but especially if you've got these like harrowing things that mean that there's uncertainty around that. And that's my personal experience and all the ones that I've had with kids met in clinic with this. And I've had some really awful experiences with families where I've had this phenomenal privilege of sitting with them through those things, but not the hardship of the suffering that they have to hold. So, yeah, it's a phenomenal thing. And to have people like that listening to the podcast just makes me want to work even harder on it.
Mm. Although, Billy, I'm not sure you can work much harder on it.
Yeah.
You do a huge body of work. But no, the sentiment's right. Hey, Billy, question 4.
Yeah.
Hi, Nick and Dr. Billy. You may be sick of hearing this, but thanks for all you do for our kids. You guys are such an incredible resource. This episode on hope is fantastic. The way you link the science, Billy, into something we can actually work on is incredible. I'm writing about my 14-year-old. I will try to be as short as possible. He has a diagnosis of ADHD, ASD, and PDA profile and trauma. PDA, Billy?
Pathological demand avoidance, or what some people might say, persistent demand for autonomy.
Okay. Yeah.
Pathological demand avoidance is the main one. It sits within the spectrum of autism, and it's this kind of want to do well and succeed in requests and things, but this like adversarial response that they have that is really out of their control a lot of the time, that they have such a sense of failure and a loss of control that they are not able to comply with demands that are made of them.
Okay, thanks for that. As a little boy, he was happy, confident, energetic, and beautifully spirited. He was never easy, but he had so much life. Nothing could stop this kid. Then he went to school. He was there until grade 4 when we pulled him out and homeschooled after years of battling. Please let me be clear. The school was amazing. They worked so hard for so long, but the system is not designed to support a kid like ours. He learns based on what he is interested in and cannot follow others' requests due to his PDA stuff. He would sit in the classroom unable to participate while he watched everyone else progress. That was on good days if he could get inside the classroom. It crushed him and his self-esteem plummeted. His meltdowns at home smashed his self-esteem too. It has taken him years to recover and get where he is now, but listening to your episode really hit home. His communication is really limited. He can talk about his interests with so much detail, but if you want to find out what he wants to do for the day, etc., he can't tell you. We use lots of visuals and pictures to help him answer questions when it's really important. He's also incredibly rigid in his thinking and very easily overwhelmed. Working out a problem that is not related to his safe interests is near impossible. If I did the questionnaire with him, he would be rated 0. He is given tiny amounts of info over time. I think he has no confidence in his agency. In terms of pathways, he also really struggles to make plans, solve problems, etc. My question is, when he is so limited in language, flexible thinking and problem solving, and he has such little belief in himself, how do you start helping him build hope? Everything needs to be so indirect and led by him. I am worried he will not be able to let us help him. He can and could do so many wonderful things. He's creative, compassionate, funny, and so intelligent. We see it, but he does not. Where do we start? Any thoughts? Thanks, guys, and your families, and everyone behind the scenes. You make me a better mum.
Isn't that beautiful?
What do you do here, Billy?
So, yeah, I mean, we've spoken about PDA on, I think, the part 2 reflection of Green Mile, whatever number that was. So I'm going to stay away from that because I talked to that answer there, but I will talk to kind of maybe the neurodivergent kids who, might be struggling with, fixations on things and not being able to operate outside of that, or struggling building peer relationships with neurotypical children because of the different way that they communicate and socialise. And what I would say is the best work that I've ever seen done with those kids is the caregivers, educators and therapists that work starting off the base of where their interests lie and thinking about goal setting in that world, in that interest. So, for example, the kid that is really focused and fixated on certain elements, let's say, just for the sake of it, let's say Hot Wheel cars, thinking about how can I actually build your capacity in this? And we talked about how you can do it with empathy, how you can do it with conflict resolution, how you can do it with emotional expression, how you can do it with conflict resolution. You can also do it with hope. So what you think about is, where is this kid's interest? Where is their skill set currently? And they want to build up their ability to, say, create this world that sits within that. Cool, well, this is what we're going to work on. We're going to work on seeing if we can bring other people in, share this with them and all those things. That's the pathway to us then going and getting more of these. And it's a when thing, and we do it together, and we get better at sharing this world, you teaching me about it, you exploring it with me. And remember, a lot of that doesn't have to be around language. It's just shared enjoyment and interest and reinforcing that behaviour through positive feedback. And also thinking about that's the pathway to how we want these kids. And so you don't go, well, I need you to sit in the classroom and concentrate for 30 minutes. That's the goal. You go, the goal is I just want you to interact with peers in the space that you feel comfortable in your specific interest. Bring the other kids in. Sometimes you're the person that needs to start. Get down on the ground and explore that world with them. They feel really comfortable. Bring another person in that they feel safe with and expand their world like that. And you talk about the goal, you build the goal of other people enjoying this with you, you're celebrating this with someone else, you're teaching this to someone else. That's where you start. You don't start with the complete world that you don't feel comfortable in with the things that you don't have any strengths in. You know what I mean? Like it's not the place to go to. It's thinking about, you've got a skill set in this, you've got an interest in this. How do I stay in that world? And we can think about our, maybe not Heidi, but 4 of our kids, that they all have different strengths, don't they?
Yeah.
So like Charlie's, I was really lucky to get a 15-minute window today where I was on the trampoline on a skateboard with him and just going back and forward. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like really enjoying that interaction with him, and he's loving it, and it's rich and everything like that. Evie would not be able to do it as well as he did.
Okay.
So it's not an interest of hers. It's not a good thing because she'd have too much failure. She'd get frustrated and get annoyed and crack it. Whereas there's other things that I know she's really good at, and she can teach me and do that. And going to that where you follow them there. Like I followed Charlie there. I didn't say, let's take it on that. He was wanting to learn the skateboard. I was like, he's going to fall over. If I put it on the trampoline, it'll be safe. I'm with him. I get to enjoy it with him and all that stuff. And that's him learning hope. Really, it is when you think about it. His agency is, you are capable of doing this. I'm going to sit there and give you the support you require to succeed, and we're going to figure out different ways to do it. He couldn't do it on the concrete. He couldn't do it because we've got a 100-year-old house. They ride skateboards, scooters and bikes in the house, which we love about it. There's not a level surface in the place, but it's beautiful. Like we love that about the house. Yeah, but we love that. Yeah. It's like the hook, the hook place.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's thinking about that. That's what we actually need to go. We need to go to where these kids are and the world that they live in, and go into that, and then think about if it's hope, if it's conflict resolution, if it's emotional regulation, if it's communicating, if it's help seeking, whatever. Use that world, use that interest, those fixations, whatever you want to call them, and build the skill set in that world before you step it outside of it.
Yep. Awesome. Really well addressed. Hey, Billy. Question 5.
Last one.
Final long.
This is pretty heavy. So just to warn you in terms of the read.
Yeah. They even knew it was night time here, I will say that. Even though it gets heavy. Evening doctors.
And we actually had a couple like this just before framing it. Sure. And it was actually quite hard to pick. This is the longest of them, but I actually have never heard such a beautiful articulation of the kids that I meet in clinic that I'm the most worried about. And it also shows that it's the system that's broken, not the people that work within it.
Okay.
But yeah, just to warn you, it's a pretty heavy question.
Okay. Thanks, Billy. Evening doctors. You asked us to tell about our stories of hope and our stories of hopelessness. I've thought about it since the episode and decided there is a very hopeless part of my world, the part that I try to find hope for every single day. I'm a social worker working in the front end of a child protection program. The placement foster care system is an absolute breaking point. The foster carers are exhausted, under-supported and resourced. The children and the young people accessing the system require increasingly complex and specialised care, and these two sides of the same coin essentially provides the perfect storm for children in care. If you are a child with complex needs who cannot be placed within your family or extended family and require foster care, between the ages of 8 and 11, on average, you will experience multiple emergency placements until a long-term home can be found. Imagine being an 8-year-old with a garbage bag of clothes being dropped off by a worker to a brand new home to people you have never met before. Now imagine you've been waiting all day at the Child Protection Office for somewhere to go, and your worker found out there was a place available at 5:30 p.m. and it takes an hour and a half to drive you there. You get your stuff, you hop in the car, you get Macca's for tea, get to this house, take a quick look around, and the worker says they'll be back tomorrow to pick you up. It's almost 7:30. You're expected to get in your pyjamas and go to bed. New house, complete strangers, unfamiliar noises, no mum. Imagine doing this every day for 2 weeks. Different house every time. From 11 and up, residential care is fast becoming the only option. Home staffed by support workers 24/7 with other young people of varying ages and complex care needs. The home has a safe room. All children's bedrooms are locked most of the time. There is a fridge in the kitchen with the basics, but most of the food is kept in the staff room because kids lose it so regularly and throw everything within reach. There's nothing much on the walls. Lots of patches where plaster has been punched. Simple furniture, some that has been bolted to the floor. Residential care is becoming so scary, and it's not for the kids making it, and it's not the kids making it that way. It's the management of these residential units where young people are moved into different units like chess pieces to reduce occupational violence risks, to resolve conflicts between young persons who have been placed together. Closing beds as the young person hasn't accessed the bed in 4 days. Young people being moved from their home without their knowledge because they weren't home or contactable. Our most traumatised young people in the state who require the most continuity, highly skilled, therapeutic, intensive and safe care, who require tenderness, nurturing, playfulness, and to receive the quiet enthusiasm from every single adult who cares for them, are literally living in scary, chaotic and terrifying reality. So naturally these kids quickly show us how distressed they are, in sometimes the only way they can, with behaviour. Stealing cars, carrying weapons, substance use, assault and abuse. Most tragic thing is, most of the kids I see into residential care weren't using this behaviour before they entered, and most have spent their life moving through multiple homes, both with their own family and in foster care. People providing the care for the young people on shift over a 24-hour period. The people providing the care for these young people on shift over a 24-hour period are the most underqualified in the whole industry. Most still studying their youth work or community services qualification, and quite young themselves. It is getting harder and harder to keep staff safe in their workplace, making continuity impossible. To provide these young people the sort of environment in which any kid of skill development can occur
Any kind.
To provide these young people with the sort of environment in which any kind of skill development or agency to cultivate hope or care is impossible. We cannot even provide safety. I can't process in my mind a pathway out of this. How we change this seemingly giant system of cogs from turning in this direction. I feel hopeless. It's the whole ocean with a bucket analogy. I'm still here, doing the work, looking for micro opportunities to connect, searching endlessly for a pathway out of resi and into a home for each child, advocating furiously and passionately at any injustice directed at any child I am responsible for, driving where they want to go because I get the juicy, candid stuff from them when they don't have to make direct eye contact. Tracking down absent dads, grandmothers, aunts. I will move mountains, and sometimes we get there. Sometimes we don't. They don't survive it. I need you to know that they don't get there, and I need you to know that they don't get there in the end sometimes. What on earth are we doing if we're not providing our children with the safest care available? This is a first world country. How do we find our pathway out of this? I'm trying, but I'm tired, which I think is technically still hopeful.
Yeah, it's a tough read, isn't it? Like, yeah, I meet those kids all the time. I meet like 6-year-olds that have been in 14 different homes. You know, just that story of like an 8-year-old garbage bag is all they own, full of clothes, and being dropped off to a home they've never been in and told to get in their pajamas and go to bed. Yeah, and I totally understand. I've gone out on placements with these guys and seen stuff that would like break the heart of every single person out there to see it in the real world, what these kids are living in, the experiences they're having. We know 20% of kids in this country and internationally experience 3 or more forms of adverse childhood experiences. And I think for me, there is a collective responsibility of understanding that every single time we see a teenager who's running around with a machete or breaking into a house or stealing cars, that we failed them as a community. There are hundreds of flares that they sent up, often from preschool, saying that they were struggling and they needed support, or their broader community was. There is enough resource out there to catch these kids earlier. And we should look back and go through every service they've gone through, every school they've gone through, every department that gets funded to support those families and those professionals that are around them and say this is not good enough. There's enough resource out there. People are making lots of money off mental health initiatives that have zero evidence. There's so much siloing. People don't collaborate properly. Like, I've had amazing meetings today with, 3 huge organisations that we're looking about how do we cut through all this bureaucracy and actually just help these kids. And it's not good enough. And all the evidence shows that it's getting worse. As that person says, when I was a fellow, not every single kid we saw was complex. Our fellows now, every single kid they see is complex. It's is there a neurodevelopmental diagnosis? There's mental illness, there's complex trauma, there's family mental illness. Every single family they see now. It wasn't like that when I was training. Things are getting worse. The data shows us that more kids start school with developmental risk, school attendance is plummeting, mental illness is getting worse, access is getting harder. But I truly believe that we can do better than this by elevating voices like that and stories like that, and then saying this isn't good enough. And there is enough resource, and that's the beautiful thing about GGM is that, if you want to partner with us, we will use resources like the Impact Series. We're just going to go into these communities now and do what we've done, do my PhD, do all this work and elevate other voices and listen to what the needs are and tailor interventions for those schools, those sporting clubs, those communities and sit there. So reach out and we'll figure out a way to do this together.
How do you not get overwhelmed?
Because I've seen it change for so many kids. Like that person has, but that person's coalface. I'm sitting in a clinic that families walk into, they wait 3 years to come to. There's kids out there that person is holding their life together. That person will be doing work and they all burn out. It is wild. Some of the stuff I've seen, if I had to do that every day, doesn't matter how optimistic I am, I couldn't do it. That's the actual truth of it. Yeah,
I read these things and I didn't know that exist. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
I'm blind to this stuff.
Yeah, I think most of the world is blind to it, mate. It's not, that's why it's important that you can read it, you can hear about it, and people that relate to you and listen to you can have the same sense of shock. And I don't know about you, I feel a sense of shame.
Yeah,
when I hear that.
Yeah.
And it's... Yeah, and just be selfish about it. It's making our communities unsafe. But then take away the selfishness and say, that's a little kid that didn't deserve that. Even that's, yeah, I have a little bit of this stuff in my past, and as you know, hurts me now. It still reaches out and harms me.
Yeah.
This is stuff that doesn't go away for these kids, but you can change their story. You can support young mums. You can build the capacity in dads to understand there's more than anger as a way to express emotions. You can prioritise a sense of belonging in school. You can understand what true inclusivity is, understand pro-social skills and how we build it at a young age. How do we build partnerships with schools and educators and parents and caregivers and therapists in the community, all the work that we do. And that's how I don't lose hope, is that I've been a part of phenomenal programs and, more importantly, the trajectory of kids that everyone had given up on, and I've seen them turn. And I talked about it last time, I think, or the episode before. I'm just going through this run at the moment where I'm saying goodbye to teenagers, and it's this really powerful experience for me because I'm discharging them, and I'm I remember when they came, and we talk about that. It's just this amazing, sometimes really emotional, sometimes just really profound and proud moment of how cool was that I got to spend the last 5 years watching you turn your life around, and it can happen. It's hard, but there's enough resource. We just got to, get rid of the snake oil as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a powerful one. Let's do the reflections. The advice. So there's 3.
Get it, Billy.
The first one. Hey, legends. Nick, I agree. I think 120 is a brilliant number and what an epic achievement to produce 120 episodes of the PCP pod. Billy, we met on the plane home from WA in January. Our beautiful partners shepherded children and lug bags off the carousel while we connected, and I expressed gratitude for your work. Been meeting some amazing people lately, actually. I loved episode 120 on Arrival and Hope, but I didn't take your advice and stopped listening to go and watch the movie first. So when you were saying the movie was about a linguist that communicates with aliens, I was curious how that could produce such devastating emotions. But then you played the scene, and I totally got it. I'm very keen to share a reflection and resource idea with the PCB community about using music to shift from feeling hopeless to feeling hopeful. For context, I'm a registered music therapist and teacher with 20 years' experience working with children, and I help educators and families use music intentionally to support well-being and learning. The piece of music used during the scene is called On the Nature of Daylight by Max Richter, from an album called The Blue Notebooks. Max Richter composed the music as a protest album about war. He described it as a meditation on violence, drawing on both challenges he experienced as a child and his feelings about armed conflict. The song used in the scene uses a minor key to create a somber vibe, slowly evolving harmonies and unresolved tension using strings, and gentle repetition to build aching emotional intensity. The whole piece is carefully composed so the music evokes deeply emotional feelings such as sadness, loss, and longing. The music in the scene was used deliberately to make us feel devastated. If you replayed the scene with either no sound or an upbeat pop song, it most definitely wouldn't evoke the same intense feelings. Movies use music, sound, and silence intentionally to impact us and our emotions. Think of the two notes in Jaws that repeat with increasing speed and volume to create fear and anxiety that a shark is coming. Or the Rocky theme, Eye of the Tiger, with a strong rhythmic pattern that makes you feel pumped up and ready to fight or take on anything. Advertisers use music really intentionally too. Like our PCP sponsors, Hot Wheels, the Hot Wheels show has a theme song that is upbeat, fast-paced, with a driving rhythm, catchy guitar riffs, and an energetic mood to evoke the speed of racing Hot Wheel cars. There are also punchy lyrics, Hot Wheels, let's race. So as a resource, I want to share an idea for how the PCP community may consider how they or the young people in their world are using music. Music is an accessible and valuable resource that we can use with proper purpose to support our mental health, well-being, and relationships. Music is arguably the fastest way to shift our mood because it directly engages the brain's emotional and reward centers. From research and practice experience, we know that young people may use music both in helpful ways to boost mood, energize, explore identity, or connect with friends, but also sometimes in unhealthy ways, such as when they listen repetitively to the same song or albums that stay stuck in the sadness to isolate themselves or to escape from reality. If anyone is feeling hopeless, sad, or stuck, I'd invite them to reflect on if and how they're using music and how it makes them feel. Perhaps consider creating a playlist of your favourite songs or songs that make you feel light, energised, or good that you can use to uplift or shift your mood. And for the children we support, it's helpful to know that music can offer a pathway to connect. It might be simply asking a young person what they're listening to their favourite song together, or supporting them to create a playlist of songs they like. In episode 120, you've reminded us why hope matters, and I hope the PCP community can use music to help find a way back to it. So thank you, Billy and Nick. I'm filled with hope each time I listen to you two legends relate, laugh, cry, and share. Lots of love.
Awesome. Meeting. Coming back from Perth. Is that right?
Yeah. I still remember it was great. It was Perth. Wait till we get over there for the live tour. I reckon it's our maybe third after Newcastle biggest community. Yeah.
Hey, Billy, advice number 2. Heineken Billy, cheers for the pod. So great to hear two dads find time to help others and have some fun along the way. I not only learn heaps from the pod on what to do and what to change, but also find it nice to hear of stuff we have done right over the years. It is like a virtual pat on the back from you guys. I have a story about hope that I hope may help others. I have 3 kids, a 28-year-old stepson from a previous partner. I also have a 12-year-old stepdaughter and a 5-year-old son. Although I have only one biological child, I count them all as my kids. Massive shout out to the awesome step-parents. It is tough being a stepfather to a teenage boy, and although we do get along great, we also had some rough times. When I separated from his mum, I was so hopeful we would maintain a healthy relationship and a close bond. Turned out to be harder than I thought, and we struggled to stay close for 3 long years. It was heartbreaking. I had my friends and family tell me it was over as he was not my child biologically and I should give up and stop worrying about it. A lot of people just don't understand why I was so invested. But I wanted to show him that when I agreed to come into his life and show him love, support, and everything else that goes with it for 7 years, I wouldn't turn that off because it didn't work out with his mum. I made some silly decisions and went too hard on him most of the time after the breakup. If only the pop was around 10 years ago. He withdrew from me and my family for a while, and communication was scarce. I kept hope and would send texts, just checking in. A few years later, we were texting more and more. We caught up a few times to start with. Then he came away on a family holiday. From then on, it has been wonderful. Just a few weeks back, we were away on the yearly family holiday, and he was there to break the news that he is now expecting a baby in early 2026. I'm so proud and excited. He's a lovely young man with a great partner and many fantastic strengths. I know the effort I've put in will help him be a great dad. My advice to others, whether they are step-parents, grandparents, uncles, aunties or parents, stick with it and have hope. It may take years, but your hard work and effort will pay off eventually. I hope the Newcastle adventure goes well for you and you don't melt in the heat. Cheers, everything you guys and the team around GGM and PCB put in.
Beautiful. Yeah, amazing. Shout out to all the step parents out there that are doing that work.
Huge.
All right, final close. It's heavy. Hi, Nick and Billy. This week's topic and movie stopped me in my tracks and has sent me into a deep reflection about my own idea of hope and my parenting journey so far. Our beautiful, intelligent and strong-willed 4-year-old had a rough start to life. She was born with a rare form of craniosynostosis where more than one suture in her skull was fused, likely from birth. Craniosynostosis affects about 1 in every 2,500 babies, with only about 0.3 to 0.7% of those cases having her combination of sutures fused. She was a COVID baby. The isolation when she was an infant made diagnosis and access to the right professionals challenging and lengthy to begin with. Her skull couldn't grow with her brain, which meant she developed pressure in the brain. This impacted her temperament and mostly her sleep, where she would only sleep on me breastfeeding for most of her first year of life, with the slightest noise, sound or movement waking her. Fatigue is an understatement. I hallucinated from the lack of sleep at one point. At 11 months, she underwent a 7-hour-long surgery to reconstruct her skull and release the pressure in her brain at a world-renowned and incredible children's hospital that Billy, I think you're familiar with. Side note, I've always got my eye out on you in the hope of bumping into you and attending appointments at said hospital. From her birth itself, which had its complications as a result of a condition, to the recovery post-surgery, mine and my husband's experience of parenthood in that early year was traumatic. It was the hardest thing we may ever face as a partnership. I saw a psychologist after it all, as it really messed with my anxiety, and I needed to debrief it with a professional. Years on, and after pretty extensive genetic testing, which didn't really give us any conclusive reasoning behind why she was born this way, they gave us a 2 to 3% chance of the condition popping up again in successive children. We were trying to see the future, right? What were the chances of this happening again? I felt pretty adamant that I couldn't handle all that again, that mine and my husband's relationship may not handle it again either, and grappled with the ethics of having another child, knowing that they would be born with that condition. Maybe this is a reflection of my lack of hope, but that's pretty good odds, right? Pretty low chances. We had our second born in August this year, a beautiful boy who completes our family more than I could have ever imagined. He is this chubby, happy, raspberrying and sleeping. Oh my God, I didn't know babies could do that. Little guy. But despite my attempts to see the future, he too is born with craniosynostosis, although not as severe and not as a rare version. So now we're staring down the barrel of more scans, appointments and surgeries for our sweet baby, back on the roller coaster we hope dearly not to be on again. This movie and this topic hits so close to home right now, and our experience feels like a big lesson in hope. We have to have it at this point, right? Genetics is such an unknown in many ways. It's likely our chances were in fact much higher of having another with this condition. But you see, the thing is, unlike Dr. Banks, we likely wouldn't have chosen to have another child if we'd been told any other higher number, if we could have seen our future. Mostly because I thought the pain and hardship to go through it would be too much on us, but also our unborn child would have to be unfairly and too much for the family. But then we wouldn't have this beautiful, happy, chubby boy who lights up our whole house. He would have never come to be. Now we're tackling how to build agency and pathways as a family to get through all this together. How do we build a collective sense of hope for our family, or maybe for my husband? And as I know, how we tackled this will be reflected in our daughter's experience of it. After listening to this episode, I do see how hope needs to be the glue that keeps us together and moving forward with it all. Thank you all that you both give this amazing community. I've been listening for some time now and I've gained so many skills and knowledge from your work. All the best. All right. Yeah, that came in like at a really important and powerful time for me. And like, as I said, you know, I don't get much out of people and going, God, they're tougher than me. They're going through more than I am. But far out. Yeah, God, that's hard.
So hard.
I think the thing that it makes me think about is that idea of like, you know, that collective hope, and how do we all come around each other a bit more and be a bit better at this? Like, how do we challenge this idea of separating us all out from each other? How do we see that kind of what Snyder and Lopez built was really this individually based hope and a skill development in just our kids, and think about how do we do that together as a community? How do we come around and support each other and actually start doing it, not tokenistically or performatively, not conditionally? And, you know, that really heavy last question about kids in out-of-home care, and then that reflection of like a parent who, you know, has gone through something really traumatic and awful and then facing it again, you know, is just one of those things where how do we think about the strength that those people have in them, whether it's a child protection worker or a parent like that, and actually let them lead us to where we need to go and the supports that we need to give and how we need to care for each other and love each other a bit more, because there's just not enough of it in the world. And yeah, it's, you know, you might say that it's out of my wheelhouse as a developmental pediatrician, but I think that's one thing that I wish more of was in this world, and hopefully by all those phenomenal people, and there's like hundreds that we can't read, that share such intimate, vulnerable stories of themselves, we can actually get an insight into how a lot of us are living our lives, and being a bit kinder and more compassionate and hopeful about our ability to support each other better is what I take away from that.
Mm. Yeah, that was a really powerful share by that person. Yeah, wow. Dr. Billy, we might knock it on the head, I think.
Yeah. So we've only got one more topic to go. It's going to be light.
Light topic.
So yeah, for the year, not forever. You're not out of it yet.
No. What? Newcastle can't come between us, Billy. 1,000 kilometres can't come between you and I. Which is like how long it is. I think it's like 1,000 k's.
Totally. So yeah, if you're interested in sponsoring corporate partnerships, the cost of doing all this is going to get a little bit more next year. So but I'll be giving it a lot more time. Yeah. So pausing clinic, which is going to be tough. I've only taken like a month off clinic in the past and missed it. So how I'll survive 12 months without seeing these kids will be an unknown. But probably by leaning on you a lot more.
From 1,000 kilometres away.
And Annalise, the amazing Annalise. Beautiful. Thank you. Thanks for going on that journey. Hopefully that was helpful for people. Massive shout out to everyone who sent it in. And thanks. And we've opened up the Patreon. I should have said at the start. We've opened up the Patreon. Jump over there. Everything's accessible.
Nice.
We're going to do it for everyone now.
Brilliant. All right. Thanks, Dr. Billy Garvey. I will see you for episode 122.
122.
In 2 weeks.
See you then. Bye.
on your breath, she'll take it out on me.
I don't want to see you again for the rest of my whole life. And I don't want to see anybody else either.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
Just use your best judgment. We trust you.